Good afternoon. I always want to say good morning. My wife's been since 7:30. So, welcome to the annual meeting, and welcome. I know everybody here is, I'm sure, the sitting in the audience is a owner, and it's what a great place to live. So, anyway, we're going to start out by the by calling the roll and certifying of the proxies. That has been done. All right, next is the election of the inspectors of the election. Chris Freeman and Colleen Smith have been nominated as inspectors of the election. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, next we will move on to the, we'll open up nominations from the floor for board of directors. Is there any nominations for the floor? Are there any ballots that need to be picked up from the floor? One over here.
My name is Jonathan Hall. I'm a partner with Cartwright and Ingram, and we've been retained as the auditors. So we actually begun the audit, but the audit is not yet complete. The county manager, Barbara Nash, asked me to come and just kind of give an update, let you all know what's going on. The audit process is a process where we obtain third-party evidence to verify the amounts of the financial statements of the organization, and so we are in the process of doing that. We've already started the audit process. As everybody knows, in CPA firms, this is the busiest time of the year, and so we're overloaded, and we're working hard on it, and we're hoping to finish it within the next month. Right now. To this point, we haven't identified any matters that would be particularly concerning. We don't have any audit conclusions that I can particularly provide you with. But just to assure you that the audit process is ongoing, and we're in the process of collecting evidence. We've already started into that process. So I don't really have a whole lot of other things to say at this point because, as I mentioned, we haven't really concluded on the audit. So. I don't know if anyone has any questions or anything that they're concerned with that they'd like to bring up in relation to the audit.
Are you concerned about
anything? As an auditor, right, every audit that we do, our concern as auditors, the objective of an audit is to provide an opinion on the financial statements, right? To make a statement whether they're fairly presented. So whether the information that you all receive in relation to the financial statements is reliable and accurate. And so we have to maintain what's called professional skepticism. So we ask, by default, a lot of questions, right? And we have to be skeptical about everything that we see. Do I have any particular concerns? None that I could tell you, none that I'm aware of currently. So, nothing I need to get working on, put it that way. I'm not sure if there's a particular date that's given as far as an actual deadline. I know that, we try to, the objective is to try to meet this meeting. So December 31 calendar year end, and so we actually just got started within the last couple of weeks on the audit procedures. The books have to be closed out, and then we can start auditing those final numbers. We're trying to get it done before the April 15th deadline, so we can get everything done at the term.
Is this your first year to do our audit?
Our firm was retained for the first time last year. This is my first time overseeing the audit. Yes.
Have you received all necessary information to complete the audit from the office?
To date, yes, they've provided us all the information we've asked for. The audit process is ongoing, so there'll be some further requests as we get there.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
Okay, we're going to move on to the general manager's report.
Working on the community, etc. So as you can tell, there's quite a bit going on. This is not an all-inclusive list of some of the items that we've been working on and completed. So we repaired the PA system in the rec hall, which has been giving us problems these past months. So that you can tell it's working pretty good. We've resurfaced the shuffleboard courts. We surfaced the basketball courts, which look pretty nice out there now. Horseshoe courts were refurbished, volleyball courts were refurbished. We continue working with AEP, although challenging on street light repairs. We have additional dog stations that have been installed throughout the community. Additional ground chairs have been ordered for the pro shop and the Red Hall patio behind this facility here. We've got some shower benches that have been installed at bathhouses, storage lockers in the activity center now available for owner use. Additional signage placed at JAWS to try to provide some instructions for people to know how to use that equipment. Some additional pool signage was condensed and added at the pool. And we have repaired and replaced some of the pool chairs and more coming to be able to adequately provide the no seating during the summer busy months. We replaced the chairlift in the activity center. The tennis court windscreen was also looking pretty bad, so we replaced that as well. The nets and the poles in that facility were also replaced. We power washed the surface, the floors, and pickleball court was added and restriped or striped. We extended the pro shop hours, now selling pizza and hot dogs at the pro shop. And we added some blue street reflectors throughout the fire hydrant locations to help the fire department find those fire hydrants. Some of the things that we're going to be working on this year, we're considering replacement of the tennis court light poles and the tennis court lights out there, looking pretty bad. Tennis courts, the chain link fence pole and fitting replacements. Some of the sections are falling down and deteriorated, so we intend to fix that. The striping on the roadways needs to be completed. We're just waiting for better weather, and so that'll be ongoing. We have some security camera installation estimates that we're seeking to install cameras at the pro shop, at the activity center parking lot, inside the activity center, over the basketball and shuffleboard courts and tennis courts areas, to be able to have some better surveillance in those particular areas. We have and continue to have issues with our access control system, so that's one of my goals, to try to see what we can do there. That thing is constantly giving us problems. Some street signage, wish list, consistency on street signage. I'll be working on as well, try to get some street signs. Some of them aren't installed out there. Not all streets are labeled, etc. And some improvements to the landscaping services we also have planned. We continue maintenance and repair all the facilities and the amenities. We continue construction of the boat parking lot, the AEP threw a wrench in that, or else we'd be pretty close to completion. So as soon as AEP is out of our front door, we'll be starting construction of the boat parking lot. That's by the Welcome Center, for those of you who may not know. We can continue with infrastructure maintenance and repairs as well. That's an ongoing and a pretty serious issue that we deal with on a daily basis. Most importantly, how do we do all these things? This is the team from Long Island Village that makes it happen. Our auxiliary partners are the Swing Bridge employees and the security officers that help us out here. And I really want to thank everybody on this team. I've been very lucky to have employees that got LIV, and we all have the same goals to be able to make LIV a better place. So thank you all. Some of them are here, but thank you. Just recently, Santiago Masan is a 40-plus year veteran of Long Island Meeting. He retired to take care of his ill wife, and we had a contribution set up, and thank you for everybody that contributed and donated. That was a very successful fundraising event for Santiago, and he's doing very well. We see him occasionally. Also, last week, we have a long-term employee, Feliciano, who lost his wife. There's an ongoing fundraising program for him as well, and donations can be made at the Welcome Center, Fresh Up, and Activity Center. So that's all I have for today. Does anybody have any questions on anything?
Move on to unfinished business. We didn't have any new business last year, so we will have no unfinished business this year. again, if you came thinking that you're going to be able to discuss something related to the operation of the park, you really need to do that at the coffees with the directors and at the board of director meetings. So that's just a point of information. Now we're going to move on to new business, and I believe somebody's going to talk about the infrastructure.
Going back. So I mentioned infrastructure a while ago, and I know just some history here. Johnny Duke and some of the other board members probably give you a little better history, but essentially previous boards, including this one, have been working on this thing called infrastructure that includes sewers, sewer lines, supply lines, water supply lines, lift stations, sewer manholes. And normally in a municipality, what ends up happening is that the city owns all this stuff, so you never worry about it. You just call the city and the water district to come out and take care of these things. Long Island Village is very unique in that Long Island Village owns all this stuff, so we have to take care of it. So the board has been working with the water district, and the Good Monitor Water District has been very good to work with and trying to get creative and trying to help Long Island Village on how to address these issues. And so just a little bit of history, Long Island Village used to be outdoor resorts, et cetera, KOA Park, similar to an RV park. It was never designed to handle the volume, the water supply, the sewage of all these new construction, new homes, and population that it currently has. This infrastructure is 40, 50 years old plus. It's outlived its life. We had, so there's 1,024 homes here. Not many are seasonal anymore. Some are, but they're permanent or very frequently used homes, which creates a lot of volume for our sewage and water lines. We have some of the problems. We have aging infrastructure, which I mentioned. We have the sewer systems that are being overwhelmed by the amount of use. I mentioned the park was never designated for full-time residential use. The lift stations are in poor condition. They're functioning, but they do experience issues frequently. The manholes are in poor condition to the point where some have even collapsed in the past. Those are urgent issues, obviously, that would cause issues for any homeowner to be able to use their facilities inside your home. It, again, could affect a lot of people should some of these things happen. The sewer lines are also in poor condition. The water supply lines throughout the years have been installed everywhere, including under existing homes. Normally, the water lines are out by the street, and they go into your tap at your home. In this case, Long Island Village has a spider web of water lines going throughout. No one really knows where they are. There's no as-bills. It's just you deal with them as they come along. And then we have the water leaks that are constant. Obviously, Long Island Village pays the water bill, so it's very important for us to resolve these issues as they come up. So if anybody ever sees water leaks, I'm always stressing to report them so we can get to the source and fix them. And then, last but not least, LIV doesn't have the type of equipment that any municipality would have. You know, it's that big truck that we're going to monitor up the water district, very expensive piece of equipment. Again, we don't have that type of equipment. For the major components for Long Island Village, for those of you who don't know, we have 3 major water meters. We have one on each side of the north and south of the property. We have a water meter for the golf course, and we have 4 lift stations that handle the sewage and pump it out to Portisville over the intercoastal waterway. Those are just some of the locations for the sewers and lift station 1, lift station 2. And you probably noticed these little facilities are inside these wood little fenced areas. But that's what they do, very critical to the functioning and operation of Long Island Village. Some of the water leaks, they're under, like I mentioned, they're under concrete patios. They're extensive. Some are 15, 20 feet deep by the time you get to the source. The maintenance team does an awesome job trying to repair and find those things. And again, they're not easy to find. So it's extensive in some cases, but they do an exceptional job in trying to help us with those repairs. So again, with working with the water district, The water district has gotten creative in a way. Obviously, the biggest issue has been financing for this project. Long Island Village cannot secure the funds. This is a very expensive project to go in there and replace all the water lines, the sewer lines, the manholes, et cetera, et cetera. So with that said, Long Island Village historically has been working with the water district to try to come up with some funding. So the water district has been working with the special bond council that they have at their services, have done creative in a way to create a special bond election for Long Island Village. The estimated bond amount is $21.6 million is their estimate. Again, this isn't a final number. The Water Development Board we're hopeful that they will provide some grant relief with this program. Again, I don't know what that amount will be. I can't guarantee the funding, but the Water District has told us they're very hopeful that they will get some type of grant funding for this program that can offset and decrease this amount. I don't have that amount, so I can't share that with you at this point. The voting will take place at the Port Isabel City Hall. Only residents of LIV registered in this election will be able to vote for it. So only residents of LIV. And a simple yes or no majority vote wins the vote. So 3 people show up and say yes and 2 no, well then it's going forward and vice versa. Some of the pros and cons for this project, although shocking, I understand. Really shocking as far as cost. Some of the pros is that LIV property owners will pay for the infrastructure improvements via individual property taxes for a period of 30 years. That's what they're estimating at this point. The water district will oversee and install the new infrastructure. The Laguna Madre water district will own and maintain all the water supplies and sewer lines and lift stations once it's complete. LIV will have substantial water savings since each property will be individually metered. LIV will experience less water and sewer shutdowns. I'm sure everybody gets a little frustrated every time we shut the water down when we have water leaks, but part of the process here. And so you want your facilities to work properly. And then again, I mentioned the grant and loan relief from the Texas Water Development Board to help us offset some of these costs. We have, I understand, an infrastructure fund that's been funded for years in an attempt to try to save, to try to pay for all this stuff. If this goes through, well, essentially, there's some payments going to the infrastructure fund that could be offset, or that would be obviously a board decision on whether they wanted to decrease your dues or do something different with that. And then we have increased property values. Obviously, you have systems that work properly, and you're going to have people wanting. You already have people wanting to buy here. It'll only get better. Some of the cons, and not moving forward with this, is that we'll have to move forward with a project resulting in special assessments for years to come. This is a big amount of money, very large amount of money, so the board would have to get creative in seeing how they could fund this. The issue and the problem is not going away. Unfortunately, we've reached a time where it's outlived its useful life, and so something has to be done about it. The LIV will be responsible for the oversight, all of the construction, the installation, etc. We'll continue to own and maintain all the water supplies, sewer systems. They get extremely costly. The installation could take years longer due to financing obstacles. Obviously, being a homeowner association or condominium association, it's very difficult to secure financing with the condominium association for projects of this size. We would experience more interruptions with water and sewer services, so more water shutdowns and things like that. Decreased property values. Potential fines from municipal agencies who are not up to code, things like that, that would be corrected through the process. So again, we would like your support for this project. It's a lot of information, I understand. The board keeps talking about this every month, so there'll be more information to come. The more information we get, we share with the owners of the properties, of the board directors meetings, etc. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Could you back up to the slide that you just passed by?
That was a...
Yes, oh, about that with the next
Well, that-
table.
that-
That's fine. Go for it.
There you go, stop right there.
So that slide was given to us by an estimator from the water district. So this is not counting grant relief. It's just simply taking the 21 million project and assigning some kind of increase, annual increase. The water district has given us an estimate on. Again, all this information will be detailed to you. Yes. So, County pointed out at a worst case interest rate. These were very preliminary numbers that were given out, estimated amounts that were given to the board night. And so that information will be given to you prior to the special bond election taking place.
Hold on,
Go ahead, sir.
When this project was started, it was estimated to be 7 and 10 million. How did it get up to 20?
We keep asking that question.
And what's the answer?
So, could be a lot of things. Mostly we get the COVID response like everybody else.
No.
Materials, supplies.
Unacceptable.
Again, that's what the water district estimated the project. Long Island Village has consulted and hired an engineer that has been working on this program for several years now. They're the ones who come up with the recommendations on what needs to be replaced and what needs to be done. And so essentially, the Laguna Water District agreed with everything, since they're the ones that are taking over the infrastructure. They're the ones that are going to take over the project, so they get to determine what needs to be done. Go ahead.
Well, it was not the cost of the water meter and the sewer that's going to cost each individual property owner included in on this.
So, hold on.
Yes, those costs are already included in the.
Talk up, Johnny.
Yes, those amounts are included in this.
Where?
It's already figured into the.
That's just property value. I don't see anything where it added in any.
Up there, we're back where it was talking about $20 million. That's figured into that. And actually, back on, we'll go back a little bit. The original figures from the original project started out at 15, 17 million. I don't remember exact number. They worked it down, cut costs, cut back on things that they thought we could do without, and brought that number down to, actually, I believe it was down to 7 million at one time. And now we still have time, and after, if this passes, we still go in and negotiate and try to cut, okay, well, we still feel like this line's a good line. We're going to have a camera shot. We don't want to replace this line. Let's cut that out of it. There's still plenty of time to do that, and that will be into part of the agreement before we complete the project. In other words, the number you see here is absolute worst case scenario. In fact, even the interest rate is taken today, about a month ago, about 4 weeks ago, interest rate and added another 4% to it. So it's figured at the worst case scenario.
We don't know that.
The very best case scenario that we'll get some of Biden's money and get enough of Biden's money to pay for the whole project.
No, that's never going to happen.
But reality is, I think we can really shoot for a 30% loan forgiveness, maybe up to 40%. I feel like that would be a.
You want to guarantee that?
Are you willing to guarantee it?
I wasn't the one that said it, you were. I say vote against this thing.
Does anybody else have anything to say?
I have a question. I don't think we need to get rude or ugly with the messenger, so I'd like, there's no need for that and make everybody uncomfortable. Going back to, I have a two-part question. If you can go to the previous slide. So where it says that it's gonna be metered, like you'll have, am I understanding this correctly to say that each property will be metered? So does that mean that then each property will also have a water bill? And then does
Yes.
that mean that then, if that's the case, the HOA fee would be reduced? Because then,
That would have to, it would have to be
Right, so
figured
then-
out after that's done.
okay, that was my question.
Yeah,
Thank
Dawn,
you.
to your question, it's up to the next board. You've got
Yeah.
12% and all you're doing is going infrastructure. There's no reason why that can't come right away. I can't guarantee that because it's going to be up to the next board.
Right.
You've got that.
But
You
it's
take all
something
the
that can be
time and money you
considered.
spend fixing stuff, finish estimating, got at least one, possibly 3 employees, that should be a further reduction. Then
Right,
you've got the water that we're no longer paying for in mass, that should be another further reduction. What they figured when they did that is the average appraised value in this park is $125,000. It's not what you pay for your house, it's what it's appraised for. You know, my house, we could probably sell it for $150,000, it's appraised at $55,000. So it's appraised value. If you go to assessments, which is what would have to happen if this doesn't pass, assessments are not tax deductible. At least if you're making property taxes, you've got your dues assessment. Hopefully the difference is only that small, but then you've got the ability at the end of the year to write this off a little bit on your federal income tax.
right.
Now, for the other gentleman got so upset, I wasn't here 7 years ago on the board when that initial study was done, but it had us doing a lot of the work. Is there anybody here that really thinks we can handle this project ourselves?
No, and you've got, inflation.
And the nice thing about this is the new moderator takes over everything. And they even said to us, when we do this, we're going to do half a street at a time, shut down half the street so everybody has access to the park. They factored all of this stuff into it. They're going to take complete ownership of the project. When it's done, they then take complete ownership of everything. So that's where you get back all these people who are fixing lift stations and leaks. You can do this. When this thing comes up to a vote, if you're a renter or an owner, and you're registered in this park as a voter, you have the power to vote. If at that time you think it's too expensive, vote no. If you vote no, I'm going to say, what is the option then to do? Because eventually this system's going to crash. You know, if the $700 extra that you might be paying a year, or the $500 extra, is not worth having all new streets, all new water, all new sewer, I hate to say it, but maybe it's time to get out of this park and go somewhere else. That's a bad thing to say, but that's the reality of it. This gentleman has his hand up. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
You have to be a resident of the county here?
Yes, it's just like when we can't vote for the Port Isabel mayor, but we can vote at other things. Like we just voted just 3 days ago. So the people of Port Isabel can't vote on this. And I'll give Laguna Madre credit. If they had opened this up to everybody, it probably would fail. Because the people from Port Isabel, Laguna Vista, South Ladrona would say, why are we helping these guys to vote? That's why it's an area specific. What?
And then you own the property here.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's where you're registered to vote. If you have a house in Minnesota and a house here, and you're registered to vote in Minnesota, you would not be voting this. They figured there's 310? 360, something like that, but that was not counting full-time renters. I know we've got at least 6 or 7, maybe even 10 full-time renters that would also be able to vote. Anybody else? Jack?
What is happening with the electrical system and the new AEP meters?
The difference between the Laguna Madre and AEP owns their own system. They need to get this thing fixed up on their own. We're not under any financial obligation to go to AEP and say, let us help you do this. Now, what we would hope is when they tear these streets up, AEP comes in and says, since we turn up the streets, we're coming to do this. What AEP wants to do is add more transformers. They want 1 transformer for every 6 homes so that there's proper power. They also fear that the power grid is not going to suffice the way it is. Well, that we don't know yet, because that hasn't been addressed. But what we do have is $2,000 in infrastructure. That if this goes through, that's LIV's money to spend. So maybe that money could be used to pay for the meters. Maybe that money could be the sprinklers and the meters. But we're gonna be able to keep that money because it's now a tax-based scenario. And to that other gentleman who got so upset, our attorney has told us time and time again, we are a condominium association. It is very difficult for us to go to a bank and get a $14 or $15 million loan because we have nothing to offer as collateral. The only thing we can offer as collateral is our assessment, which in essence, you are then giving the bank the ability to run this park. This way, it's a tax base. If somebody doesn't pay their taxes, just like normal, then they go after them. So that's why it is what it is. The figures they gave us are the highest figures that they estimated. You know, hopefully it comes down. Hopefully they get 40% grant funding. They could not apply for the grant until this got approved. It got approved 2 weeks ago, so they've already applied for grant funding. They've already applied with the Texas Water Development Board for the 1.5% loan. Proposed to live is 3.5 or something like that, 4%. So again, they're giving us the worst case scenario. When you look at that figure, remember, hopefully the dues can be cut to offset at least half of that. You got a brand new park, new streets, new water, and everything. Yes, sir. So that's one idea. That's going to be up to the next board. I can tell you that Charles Ortiz, our head engineer, has been nothing but gracious giving us information. Their bond counsel, the gentleman who worked for Jerry Jones, getting the Texas State in Finance, has been nothing but helpful. I don't see why they wouldn't do that, because this also benefits them. Right now, their client base in Long Island Village is 3 meters. The stick's going to go up to 1,040. So it strengthens their financial capability, so it's to their advantage to do this. So to answer your question, I would hope so. Oh, sure. Absolutely. I'll start. Yes, sir.
What would full-time renters be able to vote?
Sorry?
Why would full-time renters?
Okay, when you go to vote, for example, the president or whoever, they don't ask whether you own property or rent. It's where you're registered voter.
So the property gets a double vote?
No,
No,
it's not based on your
it's no different than if you were voting for the mayor or the president or the president.
The owner should be able to vote.
It's wherever you live is where you vote, is how it goes. Does that make sense? And that's not our rule, anybody else? Laura, hang on, Jack, Laura hasn't spoken yet.
Do you think that we'll be reappraised before these figures become firm? And for 8, 9, 10 million? And do we have to pay that back?
No, what they gave us was the worst case scenario. To that gentleman in the back that asked the question, that's something we can ask Charles and their bond counsel. What they're hoping for is it doesn't cost $1 million. What they're hoping for is a 40% grant reduction. What they're hoping for is an interest rate of 1% or 1.5%. Those numbers will come down. To their credit, they're not sugarcoating us. They're telling us this is the worst case scenario. I'd much rather have somebody tell me that than sugarcoat it, give me the soft sell, and then at the end, it's over here.
But still, if we get it done for, say, 10, that we started off talking about years ago, if we get it done for 10 and we voted a bond for 21, what happens to the money in between?
I'll let Randy, I wish Randy Watson was here, or Randy. Because it goes away. I'm not doing a good job explaining it.
So the answer to that, we've asked that question, so essentially we need fair for all LIV residents to be able to be responsible for a budget amount. So essentially, if you only spent $10 million, if you've gotten approved for 21, you're only going to get billed for 10 million. So the other issue goes to the other The
Okay,
difference goes away.
so when we pay back the 10 million, then our property taxes will go back where they were, or?
Yeah.
That's correct, that's correct.
You're only essentially responsible for the amount of money it takes to complete the infrastructure.
Dave, thanks,
May 7th.
Doug,
Yes, sir.
do I understand that assessment is going to affect each lot owner differently based on the phase of the
Yes.
process,
Correct.
Correct.
So, not equally cost out to the people.
What,
Fair.
yeah, what we asked them, was there any way they could do this on an assessment basis? Well, the answer was no. Their attorney, before we could even finish the question, absolutely not. Our attorney, absolutely not. The only way they could do this and finance this was through taxes. And it had been approved by the Texas Attorney General, so he's looked at this project and he's given him his blessing.
I understand you can do it, but I just want everybody to realize it.
Is there a way back? Just hang on, wait behind it.
Does the number that you showed earlier give us a basic idea of what the water will cost us every month? Any idea what the water is going to cost us every month? $175 a month is just for the assessment, has nothing to do with the water bill on top of that.
You say bond,
It's a bond election.
and so is that over a period of years that are payments?
30 years.
So whatever that ends up being on that chart, it'll be for 30 years. Right.
Or,
Well, because they've given you a worst case scenario.
That's one way.
Are they gonna come back and give us some figures that are closer to reality?
I sure hope so.
That's not very convincing, Doug.
Remember, this has only been going on now, what, 2.5 weeks? They could not, first we had to approve it, then they had to go to their board and they approved it. The minute that was done, their bond council started to work trying to get grant financing. They also have to post in the paper a 60-day notice, which I think they're doing, about this being an ongoing project. I don't quite understand why they do that, but they have to do that. So they've already started that stuff. You know, this stuff, pay as you go, is an impossible project. There's no way that you can just do a street here, do a street there. You just can't do it. You've got the guys that do this for a living, they're doing it. And when you talk about the property value going up, it will go up when this is all done. This place is going to have all new streets and all new sewer. And at that time, if the extra $600, $700, $800 you're paying a year is too much, you could probably sell your property for a hell of a lot more than you did when you bought it. And if you want to leave. There is no easy answer to this problem. Period. And I commend the people on this board for doing this.
It has to be done.
Excuse me. Thank you. To address the gentleman in the back's question, according to the statistics, the average monthly water bill in the state of Texas was $41.83 a month as of 2021.
And to answer your question, Randy, back also, what the board is trying to do is keep the sprinklers on LIV's tap. So when you talk about your water, you're talking about washing your toilet, washing your dishes, not watering your grass. We're still trying to keep that on LIV's tap. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
You know, I think we've all faced the reality that there is going to be a break, a manhole that collapses, a sewer line that is not repairable with our workforce and a Band-Aid here and a Band-Aid there. And when that happens, you know, who's ever on that portion of the street is just up to creek. I don't think we can even help the question, but this is something that has to be done.
Exactly.
To me, the cost increase on this issue is strictly when it was first created, $7.some million was a standard price, a bid for something at that time.
Yes.
Now, you know, like 2 years ago, a piece of plywood was $23.
Exactly.
It has been up to $99 a sheet.
Exactly.
So their increase is nothing but the cost of material that it takes and the cost of labor.
Cost of doing business.
Exactly. So to me, it works because if it's, if we all have to bring an outhouse sometime.
Yeah, gas was $2 a year ago.
The other thing to consider is what the new auditor wants to do is replace everything. When that original bid came out years ago, and Eddie, correct me if I'm wrong, it was, the lift stations are okay, we can get by with it. The streets and the sea cottages are okay, we can get by with it. They're gonna buy this thing, everything, brand new, up to spec, up to code, the way it should be. And that is one reason why the price is different. This is not a half-assed project, this is 100% done right.
Just to clarify.
You get what you pay for.
When we were doing the research and looking into this and went up to $7 million, the Blue Madre told us, once we did the piping, that they would take over the lift stations at no cost to us. That's what they told us. They also told us if we waited for our project until they got their bond issue passed, that they would work with us really well. But we waited and we were paying on their bond issues that they got passed, and now they're making us exclusive to this bond issue, and nobody else in the valley is helping us pay for that. So, in my opinion, they're not doing us as big a favor as you're indicating, because we have to pay every penny of that $20 million back to the village. It's not the water district like it is on every other bond issue we get passed. So that kind of upsets me a little bit, and I don't believe that the project should cost $31 million. We've read through a lot of our sewer pipes, and I know you say they're all failing, but they're not. Most of our sewer lines are in good shape. The manholes, the sewer lines are in good shape. We've scoped them all, and the only thing we found was debris in them that had to be removed.
Go ahead it this way. The nice thing about this is it's a democratic process. Everybody gets to vote. Nobody carries any weight without anybody else. I also would like to thank Ed, Ken Waller, John Knoll. We got to hear Mike Farrell, we got to hear it now. But Ed and Ken took the time to drive to Austin, meet with these people. This has been a 9-year, 8-year process to get to where we are now. Now, it's dropped in this board's lap, and the previous boards that did that. I'd like to thank them. But, okay, last question, we're going to move on.
It's not if you're gonna do it, it's when. So wait another 5 years and it's 40 million.
Okay, Ken, I'll give it back to you.
We're now to the point where we're waiting for the election results, so we're going to take a break and wait for the election return. So, we don't know how long that's going to take.
Unfortunately, Gail came in with too many votes.
I nominate Gail Farrell.
I nominate Jody Nelson for president.
Okay, we'll take a hand vote here. We'll start with Stephen. We've got Oscar and Jody running for president.
Oscar.
Gail? I'll vote for Oscar also. Jody? Joyce?
Jody.
Johnny? Bob?
Jody.
Oscar? I'm sorry, Roll? I didn't see it. Right now it's a tie, so you break the tie, my man.
Jody.
Jody.
I'm sorry, you didn't. Okay, Jody wins 5-4. Jody.
Yeah, baby!
All right, I'm now taking nominations for vice president.
I nominate Doug Snyder for vice president.
Somebody else please nominate.
No, Doug.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, now we're going to do the treasurer now. I nominate Gail Farrell for treasurer. Second. Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. Gail wants to be secretary. She's our secretary. We have a nomination for Joyce for treasurer. Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any other nominations? Seeing none, that carries. Joyce will be your new treasurer. For secretary, I nominate Gail Farrell.
I'll second.
Any other nominations? Seeing none, Gail will be the secretary. Now, normally we have an assistant secretary and an assistant treasurer, which is not necessary in the bylaws, but it's been done in the past. We're going to do it again? Just quick yes or no?
Yes.
I need a nomination for assistant treasurer. Somebody? Johnny? Any other nominations? Okay, Johnny will be assistant treasurer. Now, the wonderful job, assistant secretary, it's a lot of work to be able to stick. So we need an assistant secretary.
I'll nominate Bob Champion.
All right, there are any nominations? All right, Bob Champion is the assistant secretary. That closes the nominations. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Do I have a second? Motion is adjourned. Thanks for everybody for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.